Retro.
And welcome everybody to another episode of the Animanicast.
Oh, Brain, I was having the most wonderful dream. We were living in an experimental research facility, and the horrible genetic testing had made one of us a genius and the other insane.
That wasn't a dream, Pinky. That's a pithy description of our real-life antics.
Am I the genius? Can my new name be Thinky?
And welcome everybody once again to the Animanicast. This, of course, is the podcast that's dedicated to the animated television series Animaniacs, as well as other shows within the Rueggerverse, such as Pinky and the Brain, Tiny Toon Adventures, and Freakazoid. But today we are revisiting not one, but 2 episodes of the Animaniacs Reboot. I am Joey, and joining me once again is my brother Nathan.
You live by the board, you die by the board.
And across the country in Georgia, there's Kelly.
Hello.
Hello. Well, yes, today we are not just doing 1 episode. We're doing 2 episodes. And why, you might ask? Well, because this episode, it kind of like halfway through, it says to be continued. That's right. It's episode 5 of the episode 5 of season 3 of the Animaniacs Reboot. Yeah. Otherwise known as episode 31 of the Animaniacs Reboot. Oh boy, too many numbers.
This is too confusing.
Yes. Okay. So anyway, we're going to be reviewing episode 5 and episode 6. Okay. Here are the segments we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Teenieax. We're going to talk about Dog Days, Groundmouse Day, and Groundmouse Day again. Also, Animalians, Murder Pals, and the Island of Dr. Warno. Whoa.
That's too much.
We
won't have time for a game.
You know what? No, we might have time for trivia. We might, we'll have to see. Nathan's trying to get out of it, but we're going to try to do it anyway. Ha ha ha, torture. But if someone were to ask you to describe or to summarize this pair of episodes, in just a few words, what would you tell them, Nathan?
Well, the first one felt like a half episode. The second one felt like a second half of the first episode.
Very good, very good. And Kelly, what about you?
I'll say repetitive.
Repetitive. Well, some of that wasn't, I think, intentional, but yes.
Repetitive. Groundmouse Day. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. We're going to get into our discussion, but before we do, as we all know, this episode premiered on February 17th of 2023. So, Nathan, we got to go to you with our February 17th Fantastic Facts.
It's February 17th, Fantastic Facts. This is the theme song I think Joey's gonna ask. It's February 17th. I cut him off before he could say it, so maybe he was gonna say something else. Maybe we'll ask him later. Hey, February 17th.
Yeah. I always like to have a nice little break right there at the end. So people out there
don't know if it's over or not.
Well, I also don't know if it's over, but you never know. See, people are going to sample these, and put them on, dance club versions and everything like that. You never know.
That would be. There's a dog, like a French bulldog that I follow, and he's very vocal, and they've put his music to like actual like music tracks,
like club music or something.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Okay,
what does he post videos? He's a dog.
I know these dogs. I know.
So smart.
I follow too many dogs and actually I follow this one bird on Instagram, and the bird just doesn't know anything else to say other than "What are you doing? More kisses." And
I get emotionally involved in these animals.
Anyway, speaking of getting emotionally involved, Nathan, tell us what emotionally involved facts we have. How's that for a transition?
Yeah, that was perfect. So, there's a scene where they're like in a high school. So I was like, hey,
Yes.
I could do some high school kind of stuff here. So in 1996, Sasha Peters? I don't know. She played Allison Delantis in the hit show Pretty Little Liars. She was born in 1996 on February 17th. Also, in 1989, Cord Overstreet, who played Sam Evans on the television hit series Glee, he was born. Remember Sam Evans?
Nope. I never
No,
watched
I don't know.
Glee.
I think he was introduced in the second season because I don't remember him, but he apparently dated Mercedes. I don't know.
Ooh.
There you go. In 1981, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was born. He played Cameron James in 10 Things I Hate About You, and that was also about high school.
What year was he born? 1991, you said?
1981.
81. Okay, I was going to say he's not that young. That's crazy.
No, he's
old.
so old. Yeah, compared to all the listeners,
I mean, gosh, that is kind of. He's actually older than I thought he was. Actually,
and now he's even older.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's older still.
And there we go. We could do more for there's an island right in the second episode.
Yes, there's an island.
I'll just throw another one in. This one, there was an earthquake in 1674 by the Indonesian islands of Ambon, and it triggered a 100-meter mega tsunami. So that was pretty big. It drowned a lot of people, though, which is sad.
Wow.
So, but there you go. That's your February facts. I don't think they're fun facts. What was it?
Well, it was fantastic facts.
Fantastic.
We never promised they'd be fun.
Fantastic,
Yeah, they're not fun.
Mr.
None of those were
Facts.
fun, but fantastic, Mr. Facts. Yeah.
Fantastic Mr. Facts, yes. Let's go ahead and get to our discussion, and we're going to start with, I guess, the variable verses. We got to talk about that because
there's a cold opens.
There's a cold open.
Fine.
We'll go to the cold
Yeah.
open. Cold open.
Okay.
For this is weird because this is messing with the format. There's somebody out there going, no, this is not right. The Animaniacast does not talk about 2 episodes at once. You talk about 1 each. Sorry, I apologize.
We've done it with Freakazoid, but I don't know.
That's true. We have done it with Freakazoid, so it has been done before. You can't say we've never done it before. Okay, so cold open.
I mean, you can, but it would not be accurate.
It's true. You can say
Each
whatever you
episode
want.
had its own cold open, but we'll just talk about the first cold open now, right? We'll talk
Sounds
about
like
the
a
other
good
cold
idea.
open later.
Okay, so the cold opening that we're going to talk about right now, if everyone is ready. No, I'm kidding. Teenieax is the first cold open.
Previously on Teenieax. Nice Letterman jacket, wacko. See you at the big game tonight?
And Teenieax was written by Kathleen Chen and Brian Polk, and it was directed, and Jordan Valdina, and it was directed by Katie Rice. And Teenieax, this is kind of like a Riverdale-ish kind of parody, supernatural teen drama, not comedy, but dramatic thriller thing, where they're basically, all the characters in this case are turning into vampires. And there's all these subplots about Rita Narita, who's the principal running for mayor, is also Dot's mother, and Dot is getting there's a whole Warnerverse here where there's another Dot from the mirror universe or something like that. It's a little complicated.
Thanks for coming to help me with this vampire problem. Dot from another timeline. Thank you for performing the ritual to summon me from the mirror dimension with the Cornelius gem. You got it mixed up. I used the mirror gem to summon you from the Cornelius dimension. Remember? In the musical episode?
They're doing all that, and I don't think is there really like it's kind of more like a promotion more than anything for like this series Teenieax that will be coming soon. That's what it felt like to me almost.
It's apparently like multiple seasons have already happened too, or something. So it's like a trailer for the next episode or something. That's
okay.
Be coming out like this Friday or something. You would have this like promo.
Right.
Maybe before your show that you're going to watch normally. Like, oh, maybe I'll watch this week's episode of Teenieax. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is, they were mostly parodying Riverdale, especially when they're saying, this was supposed to be an adaptation of The Crucible, but just like in, Riverdale was supposed to be like an adaptation of Archie and Jughead and everything like that. But kind of went off the rails into weird stuff, murder and all that. Which I never watched Riverdale, not an episode. I used to love reading the Archie comic books as a kid. In fact, I still have a bunch of my old comic books of Archie and Jughead and everything.
Were there a lot of vampires in them?
Not one.
Oh.
But that's changed. In the last 10, 15 years, they've done so many different things with the Archie universe. They've had like comics with Archie versus Predator and all these ridiculous things. Like I know there was I think it was a comic and then even a young adult book where Jughead becomes a vampire, not a vampire, a werewolf.
Well, and Sabrina, the witch, the teenage witch is from that universe.
Yes. So yeah, and that Sabrina series, it was on Netflix. I think did they only do one season or two? I'm not quite sure, but that was kind of like tangentially involved.
Yeah, I thought they might have done a second season, maybe.
I thought maybe they even did. I watched them all, but I think they did a second season, but they broke it up into 2 parts or something. But it ended.
Yeah.
And then I guess she reappeared in Riverdale, from what I understand, but I haven't watched Riverdale.
Yeah, yeah. The only teen kind of show that I have watched recently that I enjoyed quite a bit was Wednesday. And
Wednesday was amazing.
Yeah, Wednesday. I enjoyed that.
It was well written. It was well acted. It was amazing.
Fun adaptation.
Exactly. That was a fun adaptation.
Wednesday is my alter ego. I am her. She's me. We are the same person.
I will say the only thing I didn't like about Wednesday was, oh gosh, I'm forgetting the actor's name who plays who played Gomez. I thought he was just so awful. Like I've seen, I was thinking
it's Luis Guzman, right?
Is that? Yeah. Boy, he was.
I think that's his name.
He was bad. Just like, God, did someone just give him the script that morning? Like, why is he reading them everything so horribly? He just was I'm sorry. I just did not enjoy his performance. The guy who played young Gomez, I'm like, who's this guy? Get this guy to be Gomez. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, at any rate, Wednesday, good series. Can't wait for the second season to come out eventually for that. And I think there was actually a little bit, I'm sure they probably do this in other things too, but they mentioned a musical episode. And of course I know there was at least one episode of Buffy, right? That was a musical episode.
One. Once More with Feeling.
Yeah.
Xena had a musical episode called Bittersweet.
Scrubs did it
at least once.
Grey's Anatomy did it.
Mm-hmm.
Grey's Anatomy did it? Oh my gosh.
Glee did it.
Really, you don't say. But yeah, so I'm sure Riverdale, they must have done one. Apparently you just have to, every show has to have an episode where you get stuck in an elevator and you just go over clips of the show. And then a musical
When
episode.
I get stuck in an elevator, well, I don't get stuck in an elevator, but when I get in an elevator, I turn in circles and go chopsticks and chopsticks and chopsticks and chopsticks and chopsticks and chopsticks and chopsticks.
Chop. There we are. There's other stuff in here, the wacko counts like Count Von Count from Sesame Street.
Coach, I feel funny.
Me too. And I can't stop counting like this. 1, wah-ah-ah. 2, wah-ah-ah.
When we were teaching my nephew how to count, or maybe my cousin. Anyway, we were teaching one of the little kids to count, and they go 1, ah.
There you go.
It was hilarious.
Sesame Street teaches you to pace yourself. Well, I think it's pretty much it for the references. But what did you guys like in this first segment, Nathan? What? Let's start with you. What did you like?
I liked Ralph's inspirational speech about get all the touchdowns or something. Grab as many touchdowns as you can or something like that. It was good.
Yeah, he said, "Don't forget to do the touchdowns."
Don't forget to do the touchdowns.
Do the touchdowns.
That actually made sense.
Yes. That was probably the highlight for me was probably Ralph as well. Just he couldn't say puberty, and that was good stuff. They wrote Ralph really well in this the first one right here. Kelly, anything in this first segment that stood out?
Count reference.
The count reference.
Yeah. Predictably.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a nice little thing. It didn't really make me laugh that much, but maybe that's just because I'm just not young enough. I just don't get it, man.
I kind of just wanted to see the rest of the episode too. I'm like, what are they going to get? Like, now we're raising the stakes, and then we're just cut off. And I'm like,
that's the thing. I did actually kind of wish that, this one and then in the next one as well, where they do Animalians.
I thought they would continue. Yeah, they could have continued this episode.
It really kind of felt like I would like to see this kind of expanded upon instead of just being a teaser thing. Like, just have fun with this instead of it being just so short. Yeah, they really feels like they could have done more with this one, but nope, they just moved on. We have a bunch of Starbox and Cindy to get to, so let's focus on that.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and go now to the variable verses. So in episode 5, the variable verse was, I think, probably one of the more obscure ones that I've seen. Mickey Spillane.
Mickey Spillane.
I did not know who Mickey Spillane
Any the detective?
Yes, he's like a detective.
He's a crime novelist. Yeah.
I never read or written any Mickey Spillane books. So, that was kind of cool. That was like, oh wow, that's actually like, look that up, kids. Yeah. And then in episode 6, it was looking on the sheet here. Be like Lois Laney, right?
Be like Lois Laney.
Right?
Yeah. Be like Lois Laney.
I've heard that was an expression, I think, for a while, wasn't that? I've heard that used before, be like Lois Lane, but I'm not exactly sure what the context was of that. Like, in that it's not showing Lois Lane as a independent, woman or anything like that. She's being rescued by Niles Neidhart as Superman in that second one, so I'm not exactly sure why someone should be like Lois Lane. Or why would someone would aspire to be like Lois Lane? Unless they want a man to carry them around the place, then I guess be like Lois Lane in that, whatever. Well, there's your variable verses. Now we can get to the meat and potatoes. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these segments that we got going on. And let's go ahead and start off with Dog Days.
When he sends the signal, we start the invading. Until then, we're waiting, we're waiting, we're waiting.
And Dog Days was written by Jess Latcher, and it was directed by Katie Rice. And Nathan, why don't you tell us what happens here in Dog Days?
Well, man, it is a Starbox and Cindy segment. Oh, boy. Starbox wants to push a button that's in his little...
So let's go... I know, they throw the whole theme song again, which
he wants to destroy the world, okay? And his little girl is not letting him do it because she's doing a lot of things. There's also another alien that she captured in the last segment, if you remember. His name was Scout, I guess. I don't think they ever said his name because how could they? No one ever talks.
His name was Wow.
Yeah, they do. There is a person that voices a character named Scout, which we have to assume is that alien, and that is Maria Bamford, I believe.
Yes, very funny comedian.
Yeah,
who I'm surprised that I just found out last time that she actually does voices for the show.
She does voice for that one and Julia,
which I'm like, of course. Like I listen. Okay, side note, I listen to a podcast that you. It's not even available, I don't think, to people unless you're a member of the Patreon. But it's an Andy Daly podcast called...
Our Patreon?
No, not even our Patreon. We're not that big.
Okay.
But it's called Bananas for Bonanza, and she plays a character on that podcast along with Andy Daly, and it's a very, very funny podcast. And so, yes, I like Maria Bamford very much. She's had a great Netflix show as well and a few comedy specials. So I highly recommend her to people if they're looking for a weirdo comedian to listen to.
They can watch this segment and hear her as Scout, and she's doing it. She's doing it. No, so Scout also wants to push the button, but they don't want the other one to push the button because reasons and
ego.
Ego. They want to be the one that pushes the button.
Yes. I pushed the button.
At one point, I was like, "Oh my gosh, Scout killed Starbox, but he's just fine. He got shot, but he's fine." And they have a whole stick battle. But they're in a dog park. I guess that's a pretty important part of this segment.
Yeah, they go to,
and the dogs are also there. They're also fighting dogs. Basically, the dogs want to chew them up and treat them like toys. And Cindy is talking about other things, but not applicable to the episode. But it's cute.
Dogs are sweet, dogs are free, dogs are cute, and there's nothing you can do to make me take that back. Dogs are sweet, dogs are cute, dogs are free, and they are drooly.
We've kind of seen similar things in other segments, but it's got its formula down. So there we go. At the end, Cindy stops them from pushing the button and puts them back in their little jars. And Scout is even wearing a dress, which is hilarious because boys don't wear dresses. And that's it.
Yep. Yeah, Scout also, I guess the only reference really to anything cultural is Scout looks like Predator. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone, come on, you know that, people.
I think we said that in the last one.
Yeah, exactly. We're repeating. I didn't say this last time. Scout has some cool glasses on. Oh, yeah. He looks cool.
I was trying to think if the stick battle was maybe a reference to like Star Trek when they do battles and that.
I don't know.
It is a generic stick battle.
Yeah, they threw. She was throwing sticks for the dogs, and they grabbed them to do kind of this bow fight. And
then they have to team up to fight all the dogs.
Yeah, that was a little intense. I was thinking, do you have to hit the dogs? Anyway. Well, let's talk about any things that you noticed that you liked. Kelly, anything you liked in the Starbox and Cindy segment?
I thought the dress was cute.
They put on Scout?
Yes. I thought Scout looked cute in the dress, and it suits him. So
so you shouldn't be complaining.
And I liked when Starbox laughed at him and he did like the finger across the neck, like, I'm going to kill you.
Kill you. Yeah, I think it's interesting to see in this episode that Cindy is definitely older. Like they're drawing her as an older girl, like a year or two older than, which you can really notice when you see the themes, which I kind of skipped through the theme song, but the second time watching,
I like the theme song.
I do, but it's when you
they're waiting and waiting.
It's weird to have a theme song right after a theme song, though. Too like they did that with Pinky and the Brain before,
right? And they do that in the next episode, I think. Right? They go right, don't they?
Yeah, I guess they go right into.
Right to the Pinky and the Brain, so it's like Animaniacs, then and the full Pinky and the Brain theme song as well. That is something when talking to people at cons and everything, is that they do. Some people have mentioned that they think that was a bad move. Was like
to do the whole theme song.
The whole theme song. They kind of like the shorter ones, because you don't need, especially for Pinky and the Brain. I would almost
I don't need it every time.
And when you're streaming it, you're like, come on, this is a longer theme song for people's attention spans. You don't every other episode keep it long.
The next episode 6 does have a little intermittent thing we'll talk about later, but it has a little skit in between the theme songs, so at least there's something.
Yeah. Well, there were some funny things in this one. I like the thing where she was using Starbox as a dog toy, and the dog starts chewing on Starbox, and she goes, "Don't chew on him like that. Chew on him like this," and that was cute. Then the song that she was singing about dogs, how great they are. That was, my wife was actually watching this episode with me and said, "How did they record me singing about dogs?" Because it does sound like everything that Cindy was singing about. Yep, that's my wife. Shares exactly those thoughts. But yeah, Nathan, you're right. What was the purpose of that gun? It just kind of knocks. It's like almost as if Starbucks just got shoved down on the floor for just like a second, and then was up and perfectly fine. Not even like a stun gun like Princess Leia, like where she's out for, one would assume, at least a couple minutes. Is that no? He's just, give me 2 seconds, I'm back up, no damage, I'm fine.
Yeah, It was almost like as if someone missed, and you were like playing dead or something, just to be
Exactly.
but like he got hit, so I don't know what. Yeah, it's weird.
There's also a really cool bit where when they're fighting with the sticks, they're fighting each other on top of the dog, and the camera kind of pulls back for a far shot, and the music is quieter as the other dogs are looking in to find out what's going on. This
and you just hear the little foley of just the little sticks hitting each other.
Exactly. The music dies down. That was kind of cool. And I did like Cindy saying at the end, "I am the rat queen."
I'm the rat queen.
The only
and
thing
she also said poop.
She also falls down and gets poop on her, possibly.
But she says it's not. She says
not.
It's probably not.
Probably
so
not.
It's good.
So there's moments in this, like any Starbox and Cindy one, that are like, oh, that's cute, that's cute. Although I am noticing, definitely ever since the first one they did, there is absolutely more of a push of a narrative on this one, and I really miss that that impromptu nature of what it felt like in the first one, where you're just kind of building something around this little girl babbling on. So other than that, missing that element, as Starbucks and Cindy's goes, I thought it was a pretty good one. But anything we else notice about this before we get to our major segment, which of course is the Groundmouse Day? Anything now? Okay, let's move on to our major segment then. And this is going to be Groundmouse Day and Groundmouse Day again. Here we go. And Groundmouse Day, both parts, were written by Timothy Nash and Lucas Crandalls, and it was directed by Katie Rice. And Kelly, what can you tell us? What is Groundmouse Day all about?
Okay. Well, obviously it's a parody of Groundhog Day movie with Bill Murray. So instead of a Groundhog Day, it's a Woodchuck Day. And the woodchuck's named Pennsylvania Bill instead of Punxsutawney Bill.
Ah.
And so the alarm goes off like 6 a.m. and Brain wakes up. And Pinky tells him about a dream that he had. And one of them was a genius and the other one was insane, basically. And so Pinky was wondering if he's the genius and wants to be called Tinky.
Just get up, you slumbering saddle goose. It's Woodchuck Day. We have a world to take over.
They go about their day. Brain is getting Pinky to help him in his plan. And his idea is for Pinky to replace the woodchuck and see a shadow, and then they're going to sell a bunch of snowboards. And then when people take the snowboards and go out on the mountain, it's going to cause a massive avalanche.
You see, Pinky, Pittsburgh is the location of this year's G20 summit. At the perfect moment, this avalanche will trap the world's preeminent heads of state beneath an impenetrable layer of ice, creating a power vacuum in which I will seize geopolitical control.
Like always, this is a really complicated plan. It's so many working pieces.
Yeah.
And so Pinky messes up and says he sees a shadow, I think. And
yes.
so
or he can't see a shadow.
He can't see a shadow. So everybody goes and buys surfboards instead of the snowboards. And the surfboard guy says, you live by the board, you die by the board, basically. And Brain tries to come up with a clever comeback, but he can't. But then he realizes that the day repeats. And they run into Egwin. But Egwin falls into a hole.
What? Zord, exactly! Oh, so good to see you guys. Once again, we shall be Pinky, the Brain, and Egwin everywhere!
And that was it for Egwin. He just kind of like pops up and then disappears. So the day repeats. And so Brain tries to get Pinky to say something else that is easier to remember. And, he'll try variations like, say, there's my shadow. Because at one point, Pinky accidentally says narf, and they interpret that as not, so that, he does not see a shadow. And so so many times it repeats, and the surfboard guy sells his boards and Brain does not because Pinky can't get it right. So Brain finally says, I'm going to do something I really just did not want to do. And he decides to be the woodchuck. And he puts on the little teeth.
Hear ye, hear ye. On this February 2nd, Pennsylvania bill emerged.
Let's cut straight to the point, shall we? The answer is yes. I can see my shadow. No ifs, buts, or misheard narfs about it. 6 more weeks of winter. I, Pennsylvania Bill, have spoken.
The plan actually works. And Brain's really excited. And he takes over the world. And then the day resets again.
Not only have I broken the time loop, I've finally taken over the...
Rise and shine, sleepyheads! No, you're listening to W.
And he's like, but I thought I reached the goal. What else can I do? And he keeps coming up with like these crazier and crazier plans and trying to get all the members of the what is it? I put it down.
The G20 summit? Yeah.
Well, he says he wants all the 192 members of the United Nations, member states of the United Nations, to surrender to him.
Oh, yeah.
And so he calls every single cell phone number to try to get of the President of the United States. And finally gets in touch with her.
Madam President?
Who is this? How did you get
There are only 10 billion unique cell phone number combinations for the region of North America. It was an elementary brute force attack. Now, may I ask, what is currently in your left blazer pocket?
A picture of my childhood dog. Why?
Thank you. Good day.
The next time he calls, he says, I know it's in your pocket. And she says, okay, what's the name of the dog? And he's like, ugh. So he keeps replaying this all over and over again as he further acquires information about her dog.
Your left blazer pocket contains a photograph of your childhood dog, also named Dog, with whom you shared a special bond. On the night of your graduation, you whispered into his ear that you would one day become president. He passed peacefully in your arms as the song American Girl by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers played on the radio. That was the last time you cried.
Well, there's no way you could know about that incredibly cliche but entirely accurate series of events without being the omnipotent threat you claim you are. It would have taken you thousands of guesses.
Millions.
The United States surrenders. Bye.
So that was when he's like, he needs to do it for all the members. And he does. I mean, he just keeps acquiring information and using it. The next day it repeats. But it doesn't stop the days from repeating. And he's like super burnt out. He even at one point tries to he gets a radioactive duck. Radioactive super duck with like laser eyes to take control of everything. And it's his eyes are like bloodshot. He just like a zombie just goes through the day. I mean, I think at this point he doesn't even really care anymore, but he does tell Pinky.
And just so you know, Pinky, if I am doomed to repeat one day for all of eternity, I'm glad I get to spend it with you, old chum.
Didn't he say that he'd been doing it for like 30 years at this point or something? Like it was just, he's been doing it so long that...
I believe 80 years.
80 years? Yeah. Like an enormous amount of time.
He had taken over the world 200 times, I think.
And Pinky tells him he doesn't look at like a day over 3.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good age for a mouse. So, so you start to think, well, maybe this'll fix the loop because, you know, now he's kind of decided that Pinky's his friend and, you know, maybe world domination isn't so important. So they get ready for bed that night. Pinky's like, oh, I've got to turn on my white noise machine. And Brain sees the machine and realizes it's a time machine that he had created. And that's actually what's been resetting every day.
Oops! Can't forget to turn on my white noise machine. I can never sleep without it. Can you believe someone threw it in the trash at Acme Labs?
Sir? That's not a white noise machine, you chronology-curling clodpate. That's my failed time machine prototype. You've been turning this on every night?
Every night. If I don't get a full 13 hours, I turn into a real Karen.
And he gets mad at Pinky and like bashes it over Pinky, and it breaks. And he's worried that as he watches the clock that it's still maybe not going to go into the next day. But then it turns over and the day doesn't repeat. And he's so happy. So now he's back to taking over the world.
The end. And hey, that really worked. That time machine device. Who would have thought that the brain would have actually? That was just the prototype. Seemed to work very, very well, actually.
And he threw it away. So what does that tell you about the genius brain here?
Yeah. As soon as he started talking about which one's a genius and which one's insane at the beginning, I'm like, oh, this is Nathan's love this episode. Then because they're talking all that junk. You know, it's funny.
I'm still convinced.
It's funny because being a Groundhog Day parody, I thought for sure this was going to have a similar reason why the brain is repeating that he's not doing something morally
You mean
correct.
It's because he didn't buy health insurance from Ned Ryerson?
Exactly. Well, I thought that it was going to be something along the lines of...
It's the reason. It was Ned Ryerson. Yeah.
That was the whole reason.
Just needed to buy life insurance.
And then the actor who plays Ned Ryerson is the voice of the DJ in this episode, which I was very impressed. My wife listened to that and said, hey, that's Ned's voice right there on the radio. That's how much we watched Groundhog Day growing up. It was so often on Groundhog Day growing up in the 90s was on TV all the time. It was to the point where you could pull up Groundhog Day flipping channels and I could tell, oh, this is this moment. I knew exactly like in the timeline of timelines which loop he was in. So yes, I've watched that movie quite often growing up, but I thought that, obviously they have to be nice to Edwin because Edwin keeps falling down the hole. So as soon as in the original Bill Murray steps in a puddle. So I guess that's what they were kind of referring to, Edwin falling down each time. I don't know.
I mean, there was somewhere Ned Ryerson stepped in the
puddle instead. Yeah, which that was good. But yes, but nope, it's just a time machine. So not even, and then, of course, I thought, well, maybe he just needs to be nice to Pinky. Nope, just the time machine. So in some ways, I like that kind of twist on things, but another part of me was like going, oh, I wish there was some kind of like moral growth of the brain in this way, but no, just
go back. He did tell Pinky that he was glad to spend time with him. But...
That's true. I did like the slapping the hand away.
It may have been that he had to be nice to Pinky. The time machine thing might have just been a coincidence. Because if you think about it, if it was the time machine, wouldn't Pinky also have been infected by it? So
good point. It would be sucking everybody in that room.
Although maybe Pinky was affected by it and he just didn't help. Just every day he's like, Pinky, I thought that would be a fun twist at the end of the
that would be funny that the Pinky did actually remember it, but he's just so dumb.
But Pinky was just like, Pinky was like, oh yeah.
Oh, that's part that happened before. I thought you don't. Yeah, see, that would have been. There's a few moments in this actually that I think they kind of missed out on a joke, and one of them was something that my wife started laughing at. Just really, she looked away from the screen, and then she looked back up, and she goes, "Oh, well, that's funny." And I said, "What?" And because I wasn't laughing, she's like, "The lock. Pinky has the lock, and he on his head, and he can't breathe." I was like, "Yeah, because the brain put the lock on him." And she goes, "Oh, I thought he just kind of handed the lock to Pinky." And then the next scene shows Pinky locked and, choking. And I was like, "Oh, that would have been funnier." Right there. That would have been funnier instead of constantly. There's a lot of, and Peter, we've talked with Peter Hastings about this a lot, is that he kind of didn't like the whole bash Pinky on the head joke each time. And it seemed like they were doing, that was quite a bit in this, like bash Pinky on the head, bash Pinky on the head. It's like, hit him on the head once or twice, but you don't, but yeah, and that was a moment. I was like, oh yeah, just hand Pinky the lock, and Pinky's so dumb that somehow he gets stuck inside the lock and then he's choking. Was cool. Anyway, but that's not what happened. That's just
No,
in
he
my
smashed
version.
him. Yeah.
Smashed him good. At any rate, any moments in this that stood out in this that you liked, Nathan?
Oh boy. I mean, I thought it was fun because I like Groundhog Day so much. There's so many like allusions to the movie, like the scene where he's like counting how many steps to take before, in the movie he robs the bank, but in the episode he creates a super duck or whatever.
Right.
But, there's a lot of it just felt very much an homage to the movie, which was fun. And yet there were still funny parts. Like I liked Ned Ryerson's line of when he's talking about all the ways that Brain's taking over the world, just like, he created these shoes. They did the Macarena thing, macadamia. Yeah. And then
not the macadamia nut. He
posting,
should have said the macadamia nut, but he didn't.
Yeah.
But whatever.
But yeah, just posting online that I rule the world and we're all just going along with it.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was like,
That was
I laughed
funny.
aloud. Yeah, that was the one I actually laughed at. And I was like, yeah.
Because that often happens. It's just how it happens sometimes.
We're just going along with it. All right. There's a lot of references though in this one too. Just like, I don't know.
Well, when in doubt,
I
also
enjoy.
just have Maurice LaMarche say something like "shredding the gnar."
Best get into character. Shredding the gnar. Truly, I am stoked about Gooey Pow. Nailing it.
And the one thing that reference, I guess, that we should talk about that's also in here is that whole personality type thing, right?
A classic INFJ personality type like me is a born follower. Now, what were you saying about a shadow brain?
Pinky says he's an INFJ personality type, and that makes him a follower. But Nathan, I had to look that up, and Nathan, you said that he's not that kind of a
I
personality
didn't think he was an
type.
INFJ. I just looked at it. I was like, what is an INFJ? And I was like, that's not him at all. It's just, as a quick thing, it's quiet and mystical, yet very inspiring and tireless idealist. I'm like, that doesn't sound like this is a quick, like, there's whole articles about each of these personality types. I was like, he's going to be some sort of enthusiastic, creative, sociable, free spirit who can always find a reason to smile. Like that sounds like him or something, there's a bunch of these where I'm like, that could be him, but
I looked at this thing we're here from, this is from the site Psychology Junkie.
Yeah.
And it says 10 things that excite INFJs. And I'm like, okay, so let's see if any of these things would excite Pinky. The first one is complexity. No. The second one would be imagination. Sure. Okay. Next one is psychologically or something. I can't even read that.
So I mean, maybe this is
word?
Evidence that he is a genius and he's just putting on an act.
Maybe
it's like
intellectual conversation, being alone in nature, silence, adventure in moderation, reading, intimate conversation.
I don't even know if this is like a following kind of personality anyways. Like I didn't necessarily get that. It didn't seem like, they like to follow other people's lead.
Did not get any of that. I got as a very peaceful, intellectual person is when I think of INFJs, according to everything I've read.
I'm an INTJ.
Oh, what's that? So introverted, intuitive, and what's the next one?
Thinking, I think.
Thinking. Okay.
As opposed to feeling.
Imaginative, strategic thinker with a plan for everything. Is that right? You're like an architect.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Well, Pinky is most certainly not that, and I think I don't know why they would say that other than it was just ironic because but it doesn't make any sense. At least if he's going to say follower, at least it should be some sort of follower thing. I don't know what the writers were
I don't know what the
that.
Follower would be.
Yeah, it was just more confusing. I like references that make sense and make you go, oh, that sure does match up. Not ones that make you go, what? No. And this was one that made me go, what? No. But yes, there you go. Anything else from this segment that we want to talk about?
So much. They did some shipping of Pinky and the Brain again a little bit.
They did indeed. There's definitely some, and it could be interpreted both ways, which I think is kind of like the best kinds of like moments is, when it comes to, Yes, obviously friendship, love right there, but maybe more. Ooh.
They mentioned furries, and
they did mention furries in this one. This is
that
true.
actually was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iron Man, Harley Quinn, and Wonder Woman were all alluded to in Pinky's cosplaying thing. You know? I kind of thought it would be funny if in one version they find out that Punxsutawney Phil was just gonna sees he already does see his shadow. Like if they just did nothing, you would have seen his shadow and be like, "Oh, okay." All these attempts.
I don't understand. Like on the initial thing with causing the avalanche to make all the world leaders get encapsulated and only have 2 hours of oxygen, so hurry up and give brain power. It's like, why wouldn't they just get them out of the building in 2 hours? Like, that was the whole, like, I was wondering, like, what would giving brain power do anything to? No, I didn't understand that line, but whatever. I did like how Brain could not come up with that comeback and eventually just said that line to that surfer guy as a way of getting him. So
yeah, I was hoping that guy would have a witty comeback.
I know. Now we're going to hear the comeback that the Brain should have said.
That Brain couldn't say after 50 times hearing it, and then like the first time the other surfer hears it, he has the perfect comeback for Brain.
I agree. I wish, again.
I mean, a tear is funny too, but
tear is funny. What would have been funnier is actually a witty thing from a surfer dude who you would assume would not say something witty.
And the Brain had never thought of it.
Exactly. I 100% agree with you.
But I'm guessing they couldn't think of a funny response either in the room.
It's like, then you should come up with a different line to say to him. Oh, well. If only we could be in the writer's room, then Nathan and I could just say, no, do something funnier. What's your idea, Nathan and Joey?
That's my joke.
I don't know.
Funnier.
Be funnier.
Let's do funnier.
Yeah, I have an idea for the group. Something funnier. I'm not going to give it. I'm just going to say that it should be funnier. Thanks. Give me my check, please.
Yeah, see, we could do that.
Oh man, I can't wait until this writer's strike is done and I could become a writer in Hollywood. Oh man, I'm going to make so much money.
Now's the time to do it. You can be a scab.
How could I be a scab? I just go to a writer's room and just go make something funny to everyone else in the room, all the other scabs.
Exactly. They talk about weaponizing the Macarena, which I guess is a nod to the Brainwashed trilogy when they and the spin-off series of it, Pinky the Brain.
I saw that on the wiki, and I can say with great confidence, absolutely not a reference to anything in the original show.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not. The fact is that the writers who work on the Animaniacs show, no. They have a passing familiarity with these episodes.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to watch so many episodes to have that.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't remember that episode.
No. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely not. They are not going... No. We'll talk more about references to previous episodes in the Dr. Warno, which also has a little bit of a original thing sort of in it, I guess. But anything else in this Groundmouse Day?
I think we finally got it. Kelly,
we got it all done. We did it.
Did we mention the deja vu when he asked him if he'd ever heard of deja vu?
Deja vu. Yeah, that was a funny line. There's some good lines in it. It just felt like number one, I wish that this was in one cartoon.
Yeah.
And not split into two. It kind of felt like Hooray for North Hollywood, how that was extended. You know what I mean? Or just kind of not even necessarily extended, but padded out through other stuff to make this one go into two. So it's like they had these other, Starbucks. We have a Starbox and Cindy. We have this dog collie thing we could put in, and that'll pad out the things.
Part of it's like they promised to have the Warners and Pinky the Brain in every episode. So then, like They're like, well, we don't have enough Pinky in the Brains or enough Warners to do every episode. So, we'll just split the Pinky in the Brain, and then that way we have enough Pinky in the Brain,
Yeah, and there might have been budgetary reasons as well. Like, but who knows what.
This would have been so much better. Like, this as its own episode of one long.
I agree.
Awesome, the perfect Groundhog's Day episode,
Right. Just have the Warners do one of those cold opens, maybe. And then just
the quickest. Whatever is the quickest cold open for the Warners, I guess. But even then, I don't even need the Warners in it at all,
Well, yeah.
I mean, whatever.
yeah, I agree. This really should have been. They shouldn't have had the Starbox and Cindy with this one. It should have just been this, and they would have done it. It would have been able to do it. Maybe cut out 1 or 2 repeated days, and you're going to get it done. I guess that's it for this one. Since actually we already got into some of episode 6, so let's go ahead and continue our discussion in episode 6, and it starts off with yet another cold open, and it's called Animalians.
8 meters, 7, 6.
It can't be. That means they're inside the room. That means we're incredibly stupid for not leaving!
Game over, man! Game over!
Animalians was written by Lucas Crandalls, Timothy Nash, and Wellesley Wild. How many times have I said Wellesley Wild all these years? And
he's never corrected us.
He's never once. We know he listens.
I know he
episode.
listens.
Come on, dude, Mr. Wild. And directed by Matthew Yang. And this actually parodies the only Alien movie that I've ever seen. I've only seen the second one, Aliens. I don't know why. It is a good one. I really liked it. Paul Reiser is amazing. No, in this one, it's Rita and Dr. Scratch and Sniff and Ralph the Guard all dressed up in kind of like, aliens garb. The whole lot looks like the space, station from Aliens. But instead of the alien and face huggers and stuff, it's the Warners in this one, and they're going boingy, boingy, boingy in the air vents. Scratch and Sniff does his game over line, which is in
Game Uber.
Game Uber. Does he say Game Uber?
I think so. It sounds like it to me.
Oh, okay. So I didn't watch it with closed captioning. If he says Game Uber, that's okay. Good job. They get knocked down.
They get up again.
They get up again. They get knocked down. They get up again. There's a lot of that stuff. They're Yakko says, "Hey, don't buy my sibs. They're just hungry. We're hangry, and we're looking for the cafeteria. Oh, it's right over there. Okay." She goes back down. For a moment, it looks like Ralph is dead with blood on him, but it turns out it's just too many jelly donuts, and that attracts the Warners, who then attack, and it goes to the theme song. It also has a cat in there too, which that cat is in Aliens. So yeah, but that was that. Anything that you guys noticed in this first segment that you thought was cool? Kelly? She's shaking her head no.
It was just a little short segment. Well, you know what? No, there was. I liked when the Warners were upside down and their eyes were glowing and they just looked really creepy. And was it Wacko's head turns upside down, it just twists, and it was freaky. Yeah.
I was not a fan of their design in this. It was just too creepy for me. I was like, ew, gross.
But I like that.
Yeah, it was creepy. I watched the closed captioning. The closed captioning says "Game Over," which I'm very sad.
Oh, okay.
I still think it sounds a little like Game Uber.
We should have been.
And it'd be so much funnier if it did. Come on, Game Uber.
You know what? We're just saying season 4, we're available.
I mean,
if you want us, we'll make the show good.
So I liked all the references to Aliens. And I have seen Alien.
How many of the okay? How many Alien?
I've only seen 1 and 2.
You only see 1 and 2, which I think many people would say those were the ones to see if you're going to see any of them. Kelly, how many have you seen?
3, I think.
3.
How many? You just saw 3.
Wait, Alien 3. I heard that one's bad. No,
I didn't say I liked it. I just said I think I've seen 3 of them. But no, I mean, like, I've seen like the first 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
All I know from the third one, and this is going to do a spoiler, but I think I haven't even seen the third one, but the second one deals with saving the girl, saving Newt and the cat, right? Saving, the little girl and her cat. And at the end, they get saved. But then right in the beginning of the third one, you find out, oh no, those 2 died. So it's kind of like, really? What? I heard that is one of the most disappointing openings for any movie, that you just spent an entire movie saving somebody, and guess what? They just died on the... It's like a
Well,
poochie.
that's like the Ewok. That's like the Ewok movies. They spend the whole first movie trying to rescue their parents, and then the brother and the parents die in the first 5 minutes of the second movie.
And that was some kind of contractual thing. I think that the brother wanted too much money than they were willing to give, and
well, it wasn't even the same actor who played the dad. I don't think either.
Yep. Not surprised. Well, we're going to kill him off. We'll get just somebody. Nobody pays attention. It was much easier in the 80s when, we watched these things on TV one time and then you forget who plays who.
No, I taped them off TV and I rewatched them, particularly the second one, multiple times and practically had it memorized.
There we are.
So
there we are.
Because I go around going all the time, going, Star Cruiser, crush, Star Cruiser, crush. And I love Wilford Brimley, and we had taped the first one, but I really love the second one. I think because it really focused on the little girl and Wicket, and I love Teak, and I'm all about that.
More
movie.
than one alien. There's aliens.
Yeah. Oh, there. Yeah. Well, Ewok Adventure. I'll have to check those out. I believe those are on Disney Plus, if I'm not mistaken. I think so. I should watch those again someday. That giant freak! I had nightmares literally about that giant in the first one. That was had them in the cage. And then I looked at it, 20 years later, and it's just some guy in a suit walking around, and I'm like, I had nightmares about this, really. Anyway. Oh, the 80s. Okay, well, back to the Animaniacs. That'll do it for Animalians. Let's go ahead and get to our next kind of short. These are, I would say, some might say filler. Like me. This is, I believe, this is called Murder Pals.
What's wrong, girl?
This is in 3 parts, but we're going to talk all about them right now. Murder Pals was a story by Katie Rice. Teleplay was by James Butler, and it was directed by Katie Rice as well. Kelly, what happens here in Murder Pals?
In the first segment, there's a dog, Border Collie. I think. Isn't that a Border Collie?
Yeah.
Like Lassie. And so the dog's barking, and Mom's thinking, what is it? What is it, girl? And so she follows Lassie to the well, and you're thinking, oh, Timmy's in the well. Oh, no. And Lassie pushes the mom in the well. And so that was unexpected. And then the dad follows Lassie out. And Lassie stops at the edge of a cliff, and the dad continues to go over the cliff. And so that's a crazy dog. And then the dog and the little boy go out in a boat, and you see a little dolphin, cute little smiling dolphin, like, oh, that's sweet. And then the dog jumps on the dolphin, and they float away, and the little boy's left stranded in the boat by himself, which I guess is a better outcome than what happened to the mom and dad.
Yeah, he didn't steal the boy's sails. That boy could technically still be alive.
Yeah.
Oh, and then of course at the end, the collie and the dolphin have dinner, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Lobster.
And then you see the little thing that says Murder Pals.
Murder Pals, which looked like a good T-shirt, but I don't know if this made a good cartoon. Just Murder Pals, just that, and just a dolphin and a collie toasting, and it's saying Murder Pals. That alone looked like, okay, I could see that as like an obscure T-shirt for some reason. Out of context, makes absolutely no sense. But what did you two think about this kind of Lassie parody, I guess? Nathan, what did you think?
Flipper?
Flipper.
I like
A
the,
little bit of Flipper. Oh, that's what it was. They were teaming up. It was Lassie and Flipper teaming up.
Yeah,
I guess that
so.
makes sense. Yeah. What'd you think?
And that's why they're murder pals. I thought the animation was interesting. It was a different animation.
I thought it was like Toby Danger from Freakazoid for a moment.
Yeah, right. It was a different animation house than normal.
Yeah, it did look cool. It did look
Birdo animated that.
I didn't like the animation.
Oh.
It kind of put in mind for me the old Dennis the Menace cartoon, the comic strip.
Yeah.
It kind of had that style. And
that kind of like where you could kind of see the ink dots or something like that in the background of like a comic strip or something like that.
No, just the style of it. Really.
Oh, like their hair and stuff like that. Their look. I gotcha. Yeah.
I liked when the dog smiles after things. I guess
it was a very dark,
it's dark
thing, and dark. But I'm all, hey, dark humor, sure, give me dark humor, but it just wasn't necessarily. It ended up getting kind of predictable and not that funny. But I think it suited its purpose. It was there to fill up some time, and the people who do the reboot like the variety show aspect of what Animaniacs could be, and this definitely felt like a variety show kind of sketch, I guess. Something you might see on, I don't know about Saturday Night Live, maybe Mad TV, but it was burn. Take that, Mad TV likers and lovers. Anyway, that's that. I guess let's go and move on to our next and last segment to talk about in our 2-episode talk. This is the Island of Dr. Warno. And the Island of Dr. Warno was written by Kathleen Chen and Brian Polk. It was directed by Matthew Yang. Nathan, what happens here in the Island of Dr. Warno?
All right. Well, we join Yakko, Wacko, and Dot as they are on a whale watching tour. They've been on it for like 3 hours now and still haven't seen a whale. They've seen some single dolphins, though, that are trying to hit on Dot, I guess.
Well, there are plenty of single dolphins.
Hey, baby, you should smile more. You're so pretty when you smile.
Then when all the other passengers notice that there's dolphins, they rush to the side of the boat, and the boat flips, and the Warners get thrown onto an island that's nearby. They're not quite sure where they are, but they hear some noises in the bushes. They decide they need to attack it or something. I don't know. So Wacko puts on a coconut on his head, and Yakko twists his tail and throws him into the bushes, and then they wrap up these creatures that they're like doppelgangers of the Warners because they all kind of look like them. There's Ditto, Ratto, and Sappho, which are Dot, Yakko, and Wacko, respectively. And they're even voiced, I believe, by the same people because they sound exactly the same.
Yes, indeed.
And you're like, whoa, these are weird. But they're all very friendly because they look like scary monster creatures, but they just do tickle fights. And we find out that they were all created by Brother, who is a man that looks a lot like Dr. Otto von Scratch and Sniff. But it turns out it is not Otto, it's his brother, Jurgen or something. Jurgen?
Jurgen.
Yeah. Jurgen Scratch and Sniff is his twin brother. And they used to be really good friends. They even worked at the Warner Studio lot.
When he met you. From then on, rock consumed Otto's life. He never saw me star as chorus member when I did dinner theater. He couldn't even celebrate the anniversary of our birth. Yeah! I've been so lonely without my brother. And it's all because of you. Where did the Warners go?
Oops, sorry, buddy. We stopped listening a while ago.
We got bored. But don't worry, it's not you or your story. It's both.
And Otto lost all his hair. Jurgen still has all his hair. But he, even just this short encounter, he starts pulling out some of his hair. And, he doesn't like the Warners because he took away his good twin brother or whatever. I don't know what. But for some reason, he made clones of them, even though he doesn't like. I don't know what's going on.
The motivation on that was it was that he wanted to make Warners that were disciplined, that would listen to what he wanted. But instead, it's like, dude, you just got away. Like, who cares about, like, I don't understand either why, other than he's a mad scientist and he likes, doing that kind of stuff. And they had a concept of Dr. Warno and they had to go with it.
Yeah, exactly. It's so that it fits the thing. So, they're captured and taken to his secret lab. And in this lab, we see there's even more hideous creatures that look even more hideous than Ditto and Sappho and Ratto?
Yes.
So there's these even more hideous creatures there. They're all locked in their cages. And Yakko, Wacko, and Dot are all tied to a table. They're going to be like drilled through or something. But then Yakko whispers something like, hey, maybe it's time we should stand up for ourselves. And then the three siblings, those three doppelgangers agree, and they kind of do a similar thing as what Yakko and Wacko did at the beginning. Sappho is thrown by Ratto with a coconut hat, and they all, they then capture Jurgen and tie him to the table, and they get all their drills, and then they do a tickle fight, and then they tie him up and put him on a wooden raft and sail him off where he's eaten by a whale, and everyone's happy because they saw a whale finally.
And there we are. I mean, so now we have an island full of happy mutants that look like the Warners. The end. So obviously the main reference right there, the Island of Dr. Moreau, which I've never seen any version of that. I know that there's one of the more recent versions was the one that is, I think, notorious for Val Kilmer, had a horrible time on set. Everyone, and I think even the director of the film was fired, but then snuck onto the set later on and try to sabotage the film as an extra. It's like there's this whole thing, like that whole thing is a whole story to it that's probably more interesting than the actual movie itself. But there's a few things I learned in this one. Dr. Scratch and Sniff, they mentioned he has purple pants, and I was like, wait, does he have purple? Yeah, he does have purple pants. I never thought about it, but yes, Dr. Scratch and Sniff has purple pants. There we are. And also, I kind of thought that the names Sappho kind of sounded like Zeppo, which was one of the other, which is like the fourth Mark's brother, who is, in the original films was always playing the not funny one. The guy, a lot of the times
Sappho was a poet.
Yes. Wasn't it like a love poet? Wasn't it about love? Sappho is a poet, Sapho, right?
No, it's Sappho.
Ppho, okay.
Yeah, Greek poet. I'm looking it up. I don't know if it was
lyric poetry written to be sung. This is from Wikipedia. She is known for her lyric poetry written to be sung while accompanied by music. Regarded as the greatest lyric poets, and was given names such as the 10th Muse. So there we go. And I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe it's kind of like an icon of like the lesbian community, I believe. I think that's what I...
Well, she was like from Lesbos, Greece.
Oh, there we go. That's
so
probably where it is. Now.
Yeah, I feel like I learned about her I took like a Greek literature class. And of course I'm an English major, so I studied a lot of world literature. So, but we didn't get like really detailed into her poetry or anything. She was more like just mentioned.
Well, this Sappho is also spelled differently. It's Saffo. So I think that's pretty much it. Other than you kind of reference the desanitized, although that isn't how exactly Dr. Scratch and Sniff pulled his hair out. Although this is his brother, I guess you could say, well, this is his brother recalling the story. So his memory of how Dr. Scratch and Sniff pulled out his hair might be different than what really happened, right? That's what we can say. If we're going to say that this is a continuation and not just an all-out reboot, which I think I know what my answer actually is on that one. But let's see. Any other things that you guys notice in this Dr. Warno one that are worth noting?
I like the designs of the.
Oh, I did not like the designs. They creeped me out.
I
too
just
much.
thought they were weird. I mean, they were freaky.
I felt sorry for them too. I felt too sorry for them. Although the one had a Yakko mask on that looked very identical to actual creepy Yakko mask that you can actually buy. So if you all want to be cosplaying as that creepy Yakko Dr. Warno blobby thing, well, you can.
It's true.
I thought the dot one was kind of cute.
The dot,
dot was cute. Ditto was cute.
Ditto was cute. I did like Ditto. The design of the bat thing, yes. She was just such a good-hearted, like pure kind of character. So Tress MacNeille did a good job of playing those two characters. But yes, it was.
Yeah, the motivation still is weird. I don't know. I still think my theory is that the Warners were reanimated or whatever. I think one version of this could have been that. Jurgen reanimated the Animaniacs. So that's where they were the last 10 years. Because the original Warners are gone. These ones have fangs, they're like a little bit different, but they were created on this island. They were rejects because they're too much like the original and too zany. He only wants good acting ones.
I did think that the Yakko ended up saying one of the criticisms of that I heard many people say of the reboot of Animaniacs.
They may look like us, but they don't really act like us.
I've heard people say that the personalities of Yakko and Wacko's pretty much the same in both of them, but the Yakko, Wacko, and Dot of the reboot are maybe not completely different, but there are differences between their, the way they act in the original versus the reboot. So I thought that was kind of funny hearing Yakko say that line. I was like, that's funny.
Well, and then that's if they weren't created by Jurgen, that means there was like 10 years where he could have been with Otto Scratch and Sniff, where the Warners were missing. Like the Warners aren't there for 10 years. Why isn't he there at the lot with his twin brother for the last 10 years? So boom, there we go. So I got to change.
Years.
Well,
more than
whatever
10 years.
20 years, yeah.
20 years, right? Something, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, because they missed You watched the first episode of the season of this reboot. They don't know what happened the last 20 years. So they've been gone somewhere. They were reanimated by Jurgen.
Okay.
They escaped the island. They forgot about it, and now they're back. Jurgen wants to correct his mistake. There we go.
Well, there you go.
That's
okay,
the
we'll
secret
go with that.
Fan theory there. So
All
there
right,
we go.
Put that fan
the true
theory
fans
in your
have
wikis.
that theory. You're a
True
fan of
fans.
Animaniacs.
That's right. We are now the gatekeeping podcast.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe what we say, you're wrong.
Pinky is a genius. And the Warners were created by Jurgen.
And there's Time Lords. And
the Time Lords.
Okay, there we go. Okay, got them all in. Good. Shoo. All right, well, let's go ahead and get to our water tower rating. Okay, we got 2 episodes to review. So let's go ahead and give a water tower rating to episode 5 first. Episode 5, which gave us the first half of all that stuff, and has Teenieax and Dog Days, and first half of Groundmouse Day. Kelly, what do you think? What would you give that first episode we saw?
I think I'll go with 3. It was
3.
fine.
All right.
Yeah.
Nathan, what about you?
Yeah, I'm just going to go 3 as well.
All right.
It was fine.
Yeah. I thought it was. I agree. I gave it. My first gut was 2.5, so I'm gonna stick with 2.5 on that one for me. Again, nothing horrible, but it was like, it was fine. I didn't really find myself really laughing that much, but I said every freaking episode on paper, outline wise, yes, I like the concepts of everything that you're putting out, but yes, some of the jokes I thought like make them stronger, get some stuff going here, but never happens. All right, episode 6. What would you say? Let's go to Nathan this time. Nathan, what about episode 6?
I'm going to say 3.
A 3 again.
I mean, so here's the thing. If there was just an episode of Groundmouse Day, I would give that like a 4. And then I think everything else, I give like a 2.
So we have... Okay.
So I've decided I'm going to give them both a 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's my reasoning.
Kelly, what about you?
I don't think I would have put it so succinctly, but I was also going to give it a 3 because it's fine. I mean, Groundhog or Ground Mouse Day is probably it is the strongest of both episodes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a 2. I would think actually the second episode of theirs.
Why you always got to be so different?
I'm sorry. I know I should have been going at least keep it 2.5, but I thought the quality dropped a little bit in the second episode in episode 6, just slightly. So, but yes, I agree. It would have been a better thing. I think I would have enjoyed. I probably would have given at least a 3 or 3.5 to the episode if it was just Groundmouse Day by itself, maybe with just one little thing tagged on. But unfortunately, it's splitting it up and then doing also previously on the next episode. It just slows things down, and it just doesn't. The pacing just gets affected negatively, I think. So did not enjoy it. All right. Well, Nathan doesn't want me to do this, but we're going to do one round. One round of Water Tower Trivia. And we're going to keep this to the lightning round, okay? So if you don't know the answer to this...
The other person can't steal, or what?
No,
what does that mean?
You have to just say, I don't know.
There's no stealing? Oh my
It means the time limit that you have for me counting in my head has decreased. So you can think about it, but the timer has been shortened.
But we can
internal
still
timer.
Or
you can still steal. You can still steal.
Okay.
Okay, good. Nathan's a kleptomaniac. He loves to steal. All right.
Yeah, that's how I get all my points.
I don't know who we started with last.
I think Kelly was last.
Okay,
this is the 4th time.
So we're going to go with Nathan then this time, right? Okay, Nathan. Yeah. Question number 1. In Meatballs or Consequences, a parody of the 7th Seal, Yakko and Dot play against death in what game for Wacko's soul?
Shoot.
Say that
again? Chess. Dang it. It's wrong.
Oh, Kelly, can you steal?
Checkers.
That is right.
Dang it.
Chess is unknown to us.
Oh, yeah.
We prefer checkers.
Checkers it is. All right. Yakko, number 2 is for Kelly. Yakko recited countries from the 7 continents. Which of these countries is on Asia? Now, Kelly, I'm not going to... There is no choices.
Wait, you said which of these continents is on Asia?
No. Which of these countries is in Asia?
Oh.
Now, there's only one that this author of this trivia book put in. So you have to give me an Asian country, and who knows, you might get it correct. Now, the good news is you've already gotten a point, so you're already in the lead. So even if you lose this one...
Watch out, I can steal.
Okay, you have to get... It's true, you could steal.
Japan.
That is wrong. I'm sorry, that is not the answer that he put, although that is an Asian country. Ooh. Nathan, what do you got?
China.
That's wrong.
China.
That's wrong. You guys are so wrong. It was Laos. You guys
it.
are lousers. Okay. Number 3. This goes to Nathan. Yakko sings about what natural disaster that strikes Los Angeles?
A quake.
A quake, an earthquake. Very good. Got a point. It's all tied up. Kelly, which is the first country mentioned in the song?
United States.
Very good.
Didn't they do that last week? We already had that question last week.
They did, but you know what? It's repeated.
Whatever.
This is, hey, I didn't write the quiz book.
I could have got that this time.
This quiz book it is a repeat.
Quiz me quick.
Quiz me quick. All right. Here you go. Next question.
Isaac Newton.
Good answer. Number 5 is for Nathan. North America, Central America, Caribbean is the first area in the world Yakko recites nations from. What is the first Central American country Yakko recites?
United States? Wait, Mexico. I'll say Mexico.
That is correct.
Okay.
Mexico is
Central
the
America.
first Central America country that Yakko recites. Very good. Okay, Kelly.
answer.
Good answer. Number 6 to Kelly. What psychiatrist is constantly the focus of the Warner's attention?
Dr. Scratch and Sniff.
Yes, Otto Scratch and Sniff is what they put, but we will accept it. Otto von Scratch and Sniff, I think, is his full name, but whatever. We'll for picking a nit. All right, Nathan. Another Yakko's World question, because if you're a big,
dang it.
I think there was too
Kelly
many
steals
references.
these.
I was thinking there was too many references to Yakko's World in the reboot, because at some points during, I think particularly during the second season, it felt like they referenced it in every single Animaniacs. But according to this fan who wrote these questions, it's an incredibly important part of Animaniacs. It must be referred to at least 20% of the questions.
What was some of the first introduction to a lot of people to
It's
the show
true.
was these songs.
They could see it in class. All right, Nathan. Tunisia, blank, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana. What country goes in the blank? Tunisia, blank, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana.
Saran.
That is wrong.
I don't even know.
Kelly, do you know what goes in the blank right after Tunisia? Tunisia, blank, Uganda, Angola, Zimbabwe, Djibouti, Botswana.
Is it Morocco?
That is correct. Oh, very good, very good, very good. Kelly, generally speaking, what is the only article of clothing that Slappy wears?
The hat.
We will accept it. It's a hat with
a flower.
A flower. Very good, very good.
Flower.
Okay. My name's Flower. Okay, Nathan.
Yes.
Get Along, Little Doggies provides what melody to the ballad of which explorer? There's a
Magellan.
Magellan is correct. Very good, Nathan. Nathan's going to close it out with at least 3 points. But
Yeah.
Kelly has already won this one, but now it's just going to rub it in to see if she can get it right or not with his last question. When reviewing the Laserdisc called Best of Looney Tunes, which character was not on the front cover? Now, Kelly, again, I don't have choices for this, but give me a Looney Tunes character that was not on the cover of that Laserdisc seen in that Slappy Squirrel cartoon.
There's probably more than one.
It's true, but there was only one that the author mentions in this.
Pepe Le Pew.
Good guess, but not correct. So, Nathan, you've already lost this round, but
yeah, that's true.
You can go for
All
it.
right, I'm gonna go because I'm guessing Bugs and Daffy were on it. So let's say Tweety. Tweety's
No, I'm sorry. Porky Pig. Porky Pig, as we all know, was the one that was not. Oh man, what a bummer! What a way to end this one. But Kelly won. Kelly won with 5 points. Kelly got 50% of that quiz. That might be the highest score yet for Water Tower Trivia. Well, there we go.
Highest score possible. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get straight to our contact information. Nathan, where can people find you online?
Oh, Joey, I'm on Twitter. Always Django FT. That's me.
All right. And as for Kelly, what about you, Kelly?
I'm also on Twitter, Yoda Princess, YODAPRNCSS.
All right. Animanicast. We're on pretty much, I can't think of a podcast player that we're not on. And if we're not on it, you let me know, and we'll see if we're getting on that too, because we're on every podcast player. We're also on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and a little bit on TikTok and things like that, when I can think of things that are actually TikTokable, and YouTube and all that jazz. And of course, we're a proud member of the RetroZap Podcast Network, so head on over to retrozap.com today. Get some great podcasts, get some great articles, get some great nerd-centric content that you'll love. And we thank them so much for having us as part of their wonderful network. And you can become a member of our Patreon if you would like to support our show and get some wonderful prizes and some giveaways coming up next month. Signed memorabilia from Tom Ruegger. Ooh! Get more information about that going to patreon.com/Animanicast. All right, well, that'll do it for today. So, for Nathan and Kelly, This is Joey saying good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
This podcast is not endorsed by Warner Brothers or Amblin Entertainment and is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Animaniacs, Tiny Toon Adventures, Freakazoid, the Warner Brothers logo, all names, pictures, and sounds are registered trademarks and or copyrights of their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of the Animanicast unless otherwise indicated.
You, polyurethane jockey. You live by the board, you die by the board. Ha! Got him.